So the coal industry did not really observably benefit the Appalachian economy, nor did company towns really benefit the Appalachian people. So how did the region's decline affect the people of Appalachia? I think that the decline of the industry affected the three categories of social decay a little differently. First, coal miners who lost their jobs often struggled to find other work. Since these mines were located in rural areas, there were not a lot of jobs readily available, and so they didn't just move to the neighboring county, but often coal miners who were laid off left the region entirely. And so the decline of the coal industry directly contributes to population loss, since former miners leave the region when they're laid off. What about declining health and increasing mortality rates? As I mentioned before, coal miners often developed black lung and other work-related injuries. However, the more widespread health issues in Appalachia, like heart and lung disease and overdose deaths, stem more from an underperforming economy. Unemployment is linked with these health problems. So I concluded that the downsizing of the coal industry indirectly contributes to these problems by eroding the region's economic base. Because coal was so important for the regional economy, whenever coal jobs left the region, families became caught in a grim financial cycle in which they became more susceptible to these kinds of health problems. And kind of for the same reason, by robbing Central Appalachia of its economic base, coal's decline was also one of several factors in the breakdown of the family. What's interesting to note is that as the family began to decline after World War II in Central Appalachia, the same thing was happening across the country, even in more prosperous regions. Central Appalachia is historically a poorer region, so it seems like high-paying coal jobs were essential for a good quality of life there. These jobs seem to support family formation, kind of like other high-paying jobs. So if coal employment would have remained high, it may have slowed the process of family breakdown in the region. Because when jobs disappear, not only do men become less likely candidates for marriage, but people choose to have less children because kids cost money. Can I get an amen? However, there seems to be evidence that traditional family was already breaking down when coal jobs began to disappear. So I concluded that the loss of these jobs merely accelerated rather than caused family breakdown. So while scholars have devoted many pages of academic writing to these issues in Central Appalachia and to the coal mining industry, no one has really thus far tried to connect the decline of the coal industry with these problems. Social decay, as I mentioned before, reflects a departure from God's original design for humanity as laid out in the Bible. The coal industry brought little economic benefit to the region, but it did create a number of problems that were only exacerbated once the economic stability from the coal industry disappeared. So how did the decline of the industry lead to these social issues in Central Appalachia? The industry's decline directly caused the steady out-migration of millions of Appalachians who left the hills for other work opportunities. And by robbing Central Appalachia of its economic base, the decline of the industry created the economic conditions suitable for breakdowns in both Appalachian health and in the family. So who needs this information? Why is it helpful for us to know how coal's decline affected Central Appalachia? I think by tying the region's coal heritage to its current problems, this research benefits native Appalachians by showing what happens in the long run when you depend on coal as a single industry and for your economy. Policymakers have debated what the best path forward is for Central Appalachia. Some have proposed bringing back coal jobs to the region, but after this research, I think it's fair to conclude that bringing back these coal jobs would probably not be the long-term solution that Central Appalachia needs. And finally, for Americans at large, the results of deindustrialization in Central Appalachia from the coal mining industry also seem to mirror what happens when any kind of community that depends on industry, when that industry leaves. Population loss, declining health, and family breakdown all occur in regions that have lost their industrial base. So understanding what happened in Central Appalachia might help us understand how America's shift from an industrial to a knowledge-based economy has affected millions of Americans. So although the reign of King Coal has come to an end, his legacy continues to live on, and it is yet to be seen how Central Appalachia will overcome its historical ties to the coal industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Dietrich.